Ladies and gentlemen, I owe you an apology. I have been talking a lot about players, talking about how I like their rankings, but I have not been talking a lot about draft strategy. So today I'm going to make things right. I did a deep dive into some research about the secret strategy that I'm going to be using in 2024 to win your fantasy football league. And really starting it off, it's pretty clear to me. There's a little bit of an inefficiency that's currently happening on the market. I want to let you know about the importance of the singular position called the tight end position. Now, if you've played fantasy football for any brief period of time, you know that if you can get a points per game difference at the tight end spot, that's going to give you an advantage over your league mates, because in previous years, the tight end position has been pretty desolate. We've been talking about guys like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, like those type of guys over the last few years. But when you look at the overall landscape, like as we look at the wide receivers, you're able to draft like the top 36, top 48, top 60 wide receivers. And sometimes you feel pretty good about the values that you're getting. But when we've been looking at the tight end landscape, usually if you don't get one of the top 4 to 5 guys, you're feeling a little bit risky. And I'll say this, when you're trying to draft those long shots in the middle rounds to late rounds, you are living on an absolute prayer. So like I said, I did some research to try to help you convince and deviate you from what your plan might be to do a late round tight end, middle tight end build, and talk a little bit about doing an early tight end build this year. And I know that's nothing crazy, because as you can see on Underdog's overall ADP right now, there are 6 tight ends going in the first 5 rounds. Now, I don't think all of them are bad values per se, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the strategy that we need to have with the overall ADP at the tight end position. So like we said right now, if we're looking at the overall ADP here, which I have 4for4's ADP pulled up, because I don't just want to talk about it from the Underdog perspective, but the Underdog ADP is definitely going to help us understand a little bit with the win rate. So we're looking over here with 4for4's ADP data. We can kind of see where these elite level tight ends are going. So we can see where Sam Laporta is going. You know, on CBS, he's going at overall player 20, Underdog overall player 36, ESPN overall player 23. You look at Travis Kelce going around the tight end 2, 38 on Underdog, 22 on CBS, 19 on ESPN, 16 on FFPC. You look at Mark Andrews, who's going kind of around tight end 3, going ahead of, Trey McBride, which is not happening over on Underdog. Trey McBride's actually going a spot ahead of Mark Andrews. Then we got Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, George Kittle. And like we have been able to talk, when you're able to get a guy that's an elite level tight end, that absolutely can help your team. Now, I wanted to pull up this Underdog Advanced Rate Explorer when we start to dive into these tight ends, because especially we want to see how these tight ends are not only impacting you during the season, but how they're going to help you get to the playoffs and then, of course, win your overall championship. So if we pull up this Explorer, we're going to pull it up, and I want to show you guys for 2023. So we're going to do kind of all the positions so that you guys can kind of get a look at the advance rates and how it works. So, of course, in best ball leagues, the top 2 teams in best ball in your draft that you have actually advance. So you have a 16% chance anyway just to make it into the playoffs. And then the odds start to go down from there to get to the semifinals and the finals. So we're looking at this like last year. Of course, we're looking at all the positions together. You can see guys like Raheem Mostert, Dak Prescott, CMC, CeeDee Lamb, Kyron Williams, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Puka, Devon, Brock Purdy, Keenan Allen. Like, you can see how those players ended up impacting you and getting you to the overall playoffs, semifinals, and finals. But now you're going to see the first guy is going to be Sam Laporta. And we all know Sam Laporta had an absolute fabulous season. Now, the thing that we have to put into perspective when we start talking about these tight ends, especially when you're looking at it from this chart with the overall players, is a lot of these players, if you can get a later round value on them, like a guy like a Sam Laporta, like a guy like a Jake Ferguson, where these guys last year were being selected at overall player 152, overall player 183, that then when they break out and they do what they do, all of a sudden that does help boost your team, because you're getting that late round value. You're getting that late round sleeper that absolutely emerges. So you can say to yourself, okay, Caleb, well, based on this data that you're showing me, I should be doing a late round tight end and hoping that it hits. Well, like we were able to see, that is not always the best case scenario, because the tight end landscape is so desolate. So that when we pull up the regular tight ends, I mean, we're talking about, like, if you want to pull up a guy like a Pat Fryermuth, who last year was going somewhere around round 7 to round 9, even to a guy like Tucker Kraft, who was going around pick 207, like, you're going to be able to see that there's only a 13% advance rate to the playoffs, which isn't great. Now, let's pull it up to the top and let's talk about the top guys last year in advance rates. So really the big thing that you're going to notice is that there's no Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was getting drafted in the first round overall last year, and as much as Travis Kelce finished as that top 3 points per game finish that he had last year in fantasy football, since you had to draft him so high, that advance rate actually did not help you at all. But like we said, we talked about how Sam Laporta is at the top, where if you had Sam Laporta, you had a 28% chance of advancing to the playoffs. Jake Ferguson, 27%. Now, we get to George Kittle, who's the first tight end on this list that actually supports getting into the playoffs, getting that early, late round 5th, early 6th round draft capital last year with that 26.3% advance rate into the playoffs. Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, who was getting drafted 10 spots ahead of George Kittle last year, a 21% chance. Trey McBride, who was kind of a sleeper, same kind of format as a Sam Laporta. You got Evan Ingram, who's getting drafted in the 9th round, had a 20% advance rate. And so you can kind of see this as we go down the line, that there was a lot last year with the tight end landscape to estimate that you could get a late round guy. So a lot of people this year in their best ball drafts and even in the redraft leagues that I've seen, they've just decided, hey, I'm going to hit on a later round guy. I got Sam Laporta last year. I don't need to invest in a top level guy in the first 4 to 5 rounds. While I think that could definitely work if you hit on Sam Laporta, there was only one Sam Laporta last year. There was only one Jake Ferguson, and there was only one Trey McBride. So you had like a 1 out of 3 chance if you were trying to draft late of absolutely hitting on a game winner, playoff advancer, semifinals win rate type tight end. Once we look at those overall rates, then let's dive into some of the top guys over the last 3 seasons to see how then they were able to advance to the playoffs. Also understanding that some things happened with like injuries per se. So let's look at last year where Travis Kelce was getting drafted in the 6th round. We look his average time getting to the playoffs at those advance rates was actually at 11%, semis 0.27, and you hardly made the finals with Travis Kelce. Now, if we look at 2022 with Travis Kelce, where he's getting drafted about 6 picks later at the back end of the first, he actually had a playoff advance rate of 30%, which is absolutely crazy. And so I think that's the part for me that makes me really excited, is kind of getting some of these tight end values that they're elite to level tight ends just super late. We'll look at another example of right here. We'll pull up like Mark Andrews, who last year had, if we're looking at 2023, he had an ADP of 29. In the playoffs, he had a 14% advance rate. Now, of course, he got hurt in the fantasy football playoffs, so that's not great why the numbers go down. But if you look at 2022, 16.4 when he was drafted at pick 20. And then, of course, in 2021 had a 28.5% advance rate. So what I'm trying to say is I still think getting an elite level tight end can be the best thing for your fantasy football team, because I think the advance rates scream that is enough for you to absolutely demolish if you draft the right elite level tight end. So talk about the 3 tight ends that I absolutely love this year based on this strategy. Number 1 is going to be Travis Kelce, and I talked about him in a video earlier, so we don't need to harp on Travis Kelce, but over the last 5 seasons, Travis Kelce has finished as tight end 1, tight end 1, tight end 2, tight end 1, tight end 1 on a points per game basis. Like, the fact of the matter is you're getting a discount on him right now on ADP. I know he's the tight end 2 overall, kind of unanimously, but on Underdog he's going off at pick 38, he's going off at pick 22 on CBS, pick 19 on ESPN, FSPC going off at pick 16. Like, the thing is for me, the 211, let's say that's where he's getting drafted in a 12-team league just on average. The fact of the matter is with Travis Kelce, he wasn't a value at the 106, but we're almost getting a whole round to round and a half discount on Travis Kelce, even though the last year he finished as the tight end 1. So sign me up for Travis Kelce after seeing those win rates, understanding that, hey, a lot of people like Sam Laporta more. Even though Sam Laporta only finished as the tight end 3 on a points per game basis, Travis Kelce's been that dude. I need to continue drafting Travis Kelce at his current cost. My second player that I think not enough people are giving enough credit to and are drafting enough of is going to be Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews going off tight end 3 unanimously, but on Underdog, he's going off the board as tight end 4 to tight end 5. Some people, I've even seen Dalton Kincaid starting to creep up and go ahead of Mark Andrews, as well as Trey McBride. And Mark Andrews last year, let's not forget, Mark Andrews got hurt and he let a lot of people down. He let me down a ton. Mark Andrews, honestly, man, I know he's tight on 5 on a points per game basis, but only playing in 10 games, that was not great. But let us not forget the consistency that this man has had. He was tight end 1 back in 2021. He was tight end 3 in 2022. And last year, like we said, he only played in 10 games, but he was tight end 5 on a points per game basis. So my man's finished at least at the tight end 5 in his prime and upwards of tight end 1. So that is a large range for a guy like Mark Andrews, who the Baltimore Ravens added no competition into this wide receiver room. So we're talking about Mark Andrews still as the wide receiver 1. I know a lot of people are excited about Zay. I'm excited about Zay, but it's the Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews show in Baltimore. So give me all the Mark Andrews that I can at current ADP. Like I said, in underdog leagues, when you're really able to get him at like the back end of the 4th and then the early 5th, you're able to get the Lamar Jackson stack right now. It's absolutely insane. I love some Mark Andrews. And my final tight end, and hear me out, this guy is going off as the tight end 6 consensusly, according to the 4for4 ADP on all the major sites. It's going to be Kyle Pitts. And I am ready to get burned by Kyle Pitts again. I am ready to stick my neck out for my guy, because he not only did he have an amazing rookie season where he had over 1,000 yards receiving as a rookie tight end. Only other guy was Mike Ditka back in the 70s. But the last 3 years, he's had crappy quarterback play. I know Matt Ryan and his rookie season was probably the best quarterback that he's had up to this point, but trust me, Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix, that is going to be the difference this year for Kyle Pitts, getting back to having 1,000 receiving yards, and I think that's going to make his touchdown upside going up, because last 3 seasons, 3, 2, 1, those are literally his touchdown numbers. It's nothing crazy, but I do think the sky is the limit for Kyle Pitts, and I'm ready to get burned again. So let me know what you guys think of Kyle Pitts. Do we think that it is time for him to shine? Are we going to be celebrating him at the end of the season, or is it not going to happen? I'm celebrating Kyle Pitts because I'm drafting him everywhere. I am ready to get hurt again. But let me know what you think of this tight end strategy, if you're going to be using it in fantasy football going forward. Are you drafting the elite level guys? Trust me, I think it's not the most secret strategy, but I think the consensus strategy is to wait on tight end this year, and I will be drafting early elite level fantasy football producers. Then I'll also be giving a shot on Kyle Pitts on the upside. So let me know down below. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.